my channel. My name is Michaela and I'm here to make videos every week of fashion, traveling and some tips. Today I'm here to give you some tips about traveling to Israel. I was lucky enough to visit this awesome country last year, and I came up with 10 tips of things that might be useful for you if you're planning to go there, or if you're not sure if you want to visit it, and I can encourage you to by helping you enjoy your trip way more if possible. So the first tip for me will be to be aware of the culture and history of the country you're visiting. This seems like something very easy, like everybody will tell you this, but in this case it's a country that you will get much more out of it if you know about the culture and history. Mostly because there are a lot of things that you should or you cannot do because of the current religions that are living in that place, but also a lot of history and biblical related towns that you might want to visit, or like understanding what tour will be interesting for you, or a lot of things that if you get to know the history or again culture, religion of Israel and its foundation and everything that's so unique, you will get to understand and enjoy way more. The second tip that I can give to you is also related to the first one, which will be to be aware of Shabbat, kosher, and all the mostly Hebrew part of Israel. Of course, Israel is the promised land, as they say, and it's mostly built in relation to Judaism. So you have to be aware of Shabbat, which is their festivity in the week, that's Saturdays, but it starts on the Fridays afternoon and it goes through Saturday until the sun goes down or something. I'm sorry if I say something wrong. But mostly you have to be aware for elevators, for the use of electricity, for the use of breakfast at the hotels, for restaurants, for like overbooking in restaurants, because for them it's Friday evening, the day that they are going to go out the most with family and with friends and to eat, and so it's gonna be overbooked if you want to go out, or like to be aware of not being in a small town during Shabbat, because there's nothing's gonna be open, nothing's gonna be working unless you are in a Muslim neighborhood. So you really have to be aware of these things. And also I will strongly recommend knowing about kosher food, because I was so surprised to find restaurants that had like kosher divided in half. So one of them was like where you could eat meat related meals, and the other one where you could get cheese or related to lactose and dairy and so on. So from there to whatever you want. We had a buffet and you could not enter with any type of food because they could not touch any of the cutlery or plates, because everything had to be treated as kosher. So you could not introduce a piece of bread. I had a friend of mine who introduced like she entered the buffet with some spices that put on her plate, and they had to throw the plate away because it wasn't kosher. They could not prove that it was kosher. So it will be great to be aware and understand a little more about this. My third tip will also be on planning. Of course, plan your trip. We visited first Jerusalem. We did a lot in Jerusalem because it has the most history, if you ask me, or at least in our experience it was the place that we visited mostly for history. And then we did surroundings of Jerusalem and Haifa and Tel Aviv for Shabbat, so that we could enjoy a little bit more of city life in Tel Aviv, more touristic, let's say that. So if you plan your trip, it will be great to make the most out of it, because Israel is not as small as you might look in the map and say, oh, it's really small, but it's not as much, and you will want to make the most out of it. So planning the cities you want to visit and booking beforehand, it's much more right. So my fourth tip, be careful with what you wear. Of course, we're talking about a country that has a lot of religions in one, so each religion has its own rules, and then you have to be respectful with all of them at the same time. But most of them consider one thing: don't wear what I'm wearing today. So you cannot enter any historic place with a tank top, with shorts, with being, a woman mostly. It's disrespectful. Also, you should bring at all given times a shawl to be able to throw in your head not only for Muslim but also for Orthodox and sometimes also for Jews, in case you want to enter a temple or something like that. In most cases, I will recommend you to wear long trousers and bring along like a shawl that you can put on your head or on your shoulders at all times. And also something that I was not aware of, in October and November, it's freaking cold. Like, it was so cold. I've never been so cold in my life, and I'm joking, but I was expecting more of a summer vibe, which we had at the Dead Sea and at Tel Aviv, but not really in Jerusalem, for instance, where we had to, wear all the coats that we were bringing from the plane, and that was everything that we wore for like 3 days in a row. So that's definitely something to consider. My fifth tip is more of a, be aware that everything is going to be expensive. It's not a tip, it's just like bring a lot of money type of tip. I was expecting at least for it to be a little bit cheaper than certain European capitals, but it was definitely just as expensive as certain European capitals. Of course, the currency is different, but to produce and to bring everything to Israel is rather expensive, and of course eating in markets or places where locals eat, it's fine. But if you're expecting something as a tourist that is like, what you want to eat and know what they eat, that's gonna be expensive. So be ready to pay and be ready to organize your finances and check where to eat beforehand or ask for prices and so on, and bring your phone or a calculator to know exactly how many shekels are going to be in euros to understand. So my sixth tip is also related to the fifth one, which is bring dollars. So in my case, we came from Italy, so we had to bring euros, of course, and then exchange them for shekels on arrival, which was a great idea. We just went to an ATM, put the card, get your money out, and that was about it. But it will also be good, you can always pay by card, it's not a problem, but it will also be good to bring dollars. When we crossed to Bethlehem, to Palestine, we had to pay either with shekels or with dollars, and paying by dollars was a great alternative for us. So I would much strongly recommend, if you could bring dollars and you want to have some currency around with you, you could pay with dollars, at least for tours, operators, also some supermarkets or like convenience stores. You could pay with dollars for taxis or for anything that you need like that. So definitely, if you cannot exchange shekels in your country and you want to travel with some money, bring dollars along with you. Number 7. Please don't worry about the stamp in your passport. You're not gonna get a stamp in your passport. I was worried about it, we were all worried about it. You're gonna get a little card that has a sticker that you can stick to your passport, or just keep in your passport, and you have to keep it at all given times to prove that you were legally in Israel, and then to prove that you could get out easily on some sort of visa, to be able to enter and to be able to get out. Same as any other visa. The thing is that we were questioned like a lot at the airport before entering Israel. So when we were here at the airport, in our local airport, we were asked for almost half an hour questions, mostly me because I was traveling with my boyfriend and we could not justify for how long we've met, if I was going there with him and his family, just because I wanted to, and I was made to go there, for trafficking, I don't know what. But then we were really questioned a lot, so we're ready to sweat and be stressed out, but it's just a protocol that they do most of the times, so be aware. My 8th tip will be to please go visit the Dead Sea. Of course, if you're going to Israel, you're gonna have the amazing idea of going to the Dead Sea, but it's definitely worth it. Although, I will tell you 3 things that are important for the Dead Sea. One of them, please do wear shoes, waterproof shoes. It's just almost impossible to walk around without shoes on those stones of salt and without hurting yourself. So bringing shoes is a good one. Another one will be to bring your own towel. We were at a hotel, but they will not provide towels to go to the Dead Sea, and we ended up changing the beach because we didn't like the one of the hotel and we went to a different resort. And they could not rent us towels, so we had to buy them. So be aware of bringing your own towel if you're going to the Dead Sea. And then I'm also going to tell you to bring some water with you. Not for drinking, if you want for drinking, also good, but because if the water gets into your eyes, it's just horrible. So if you want to touch your face afterwards and you want to put some water in your hands, or you want to rinse if some water goes into your eyes, do bring some natural mineral water to be able to rinse yourself or soap, because trust me, it's gonna be disgusting afterwards. Super relaxing, super cool, but disgusting. So my ninth tip will be, if you're able to and you have the budget for it and you could do it, rent a car. Getting around Israel with a car was amazing. It was great because we could just visit small towns that we were interested in. Let's say, for instance, going from Jerusalem to Haifa, visit Nazareth or something like that. And we didn't have to ask anybody, and we were super comfortable leaving our luggage inside the car and driving around. It's a little different to driving around here, but it's definitely good. You could do it. So if you can rent a car, I much recommend it. So my last tip will be to actually get a tour. We got a couple of tours. One of them was to go from Jerusalem to Bethlehem, and we needed for that not a rental car, because you're not allowed to use your rental car to go into the West Bank or Palestine or Jordan or anywhere, actually, just Israel. So we had to go with somebody else, and that person also got us a tour guide who was waiting for us on the other side and could get us free access to the churches and other things. That was actually really cool. Definitely worth it. It's one of those places that if you don't know, you're missing out so much, that getting in touch with someone who actually knows and could explain you things, it's the best idea. We enjoyed it very much. It made such a difference. So that's my last tip. I hope you actually enjoy this video, the tips are useful to you, and that you get to enjoy all the pictures that I'm sharing here with you. So see you next time with a different video. Bye!